Right. Okay. So the African Scholars Mentorship Program is anchored by the DePECOS institutions and the Global Research Center, DIaDeRC. We have each series has 5 episodes. We have covered episode 1, the debut one. It's every 2 weeks. So the 2 weeks after, we covered episode 2. And last week, we had a very wonderful session, episode 3, on the ABC on publishing in reputable outlets with a Sada's perspective with Simplice Asongu as our guest presenter. And after that episode, there was popular demand to bring him back as well to continue with us on episode 4, which is the relevance of collaboration and partnership building successful and scholarly career. So thankfully, we approached him and he joyfully accepted to join us on this episode 4. Once again, thank you, Professor Asongu. We don't take this for granted. So the last episode for this series will be in next 2 weeks, the last Sunday, the 4th Sunday in July. So by way of introduction, that is him. I don't have seen his face. This is his face, Asongu. He is he holds a PhD from Oxford Brookes University in the UK, and the founder and lead economist and director of the African Governance Development Institute based in Yaoundé, Cameroon. And also he is a distinguished visiting professor at the University of Johannesburg and lead economist at European Amsterdam Center of African Studies based in Belgium, and also a co-founder and director of another center in Central African Republic. Is one of the most published and distinguished African economists. Last time I checked his Scopus page, he has a H index of over 50 with over 449 documents. So he's a reviewer and editor of and also a board member of many international journals. So we had all of that last week. And interestingly, in terms of collaboration, which is our focus for today, I'm glad to mention that he's also one of our advisory board members for DIaDeRC. In terms of collaboration, actively we have collaborating since 2018. To listen where we co-supervised a PhD who finished PhD in 2018. These are publication. These are papers that are published between 2019 and 2021. Many of them in the high impact journal like Energy Policy and all of that. So if we didn't join us for episode 3, please get your recorded session. We have shared it on our platform so you can go through it. So by way of that, I've done this first part. So if you can clap your hands, please do, as I make welcome Professor Simplice Asongu as he takes us on his own slide. This is his slide. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Professor Osabuohien, for the very great presentation. I couldn't say it better.
Thank you.
So I'm now aware that this is the 4th episode of the first series, right?
It is episode 4, yes.
Okay. So, dear distinguished participants, thank you for attending this 4th episode of the first series of the African Scholars Mentorship Network series. My thanks is extended as well to Professor Osabuohien and the DePECOS Institutions and Development Research Center for this laudable initiative of sharing ideas and experiences that are actually relevant in our collective effort of contributing to knowledge for Africa's development by means of scientific publications. I do hope that this session will be as interactive as the previous section, and that most of you will not only attend but equally actively engage with questions and comments. So could you enlarge the slide, please?
Okay, let me see if I can make it full screen mode. Okay, is it better?
We can still manage if it is. Okay. We can still manage. So in this episode we'll be talking about. I'll be presenting on the relevance of collaboration and partnership in building a successful scholarly career. most of the insights that I will provide will pertain to my own personal experience. And this is not textbook knowledge, but knowledge that at times people may be a bit politically correct to actually, put them to you. Proceed with the next slide, please.
1 minute. The slide should be here. Okay, I think I started with the last slide. Sorry. Right. Okay.
So my presentation would actually be articulated along 7 main strands. I'll begin with a conceptual clarification of the keywords, notably what is collaboration, what do you understand by partnership, and by extension, networking. I'll also provide you with insights into an evolving collaborative structure, which I had occasion to elaborate in the previous series. But it is important to articulate on this because it serves as a basis to understand, subsequent strands I will develop. The third strand would actually focus on the importance of collaborations. The fourth strand on the importance of networking, because these are 2 distinct concepts. I'll also discuss, the importance of collaboration, networking, and partnership with specific relevance to multilateral development institutions and universities. I'll provide you with some collaborative insights, fundamentally based on my own experience, and then conclude with some anecdotes. The next slide, please. So we begin here with conceptual clarification. There are 3 terms I would like to clarify here: collaboration, partnership, and network. Professor Osabuohien actually made mention of collaboration and partnership, but I would mostly articulate on collaboration and networking because network is just an extension of partnership. Network is like partnership involving more individuals and organizations. So it is just like an extension or a broader definition of partnership. A collaborative agenda is an agenda between 2 individuals that come, 2 or more individuals, so to say, that come together to get work done or achieve specific goals. Whereas a partnership is a collaboration, but which involves more organizations and individuals that actually get together to get work done or achieve certain goals. A network is actually more encompassing than a partnership because it involves more organizations that are actually set to come together and achieve certain objectives and goals. So it is important to distinguish between a collaboration and a partnership, as I precised earlier, on the one hand, and between a partnership and a network. Firstly, a collaboration is limited in time and space with respect to a partnership, in the perspective that a collaboration is shorter in time compared to a partnership. And then in terms of space, it involves less individuals and organizations compared to a partnership. And then as far as the distinction between a partnership and a network is concerned, a network is more encompassing within the perspective that it involves more organizations and individuals. So you would forgive me for articulating on networks instead of partners as I unfold the talk. The next slide, please. So I did discuss this evolving collaborative structure in the preceding episode, but I thought it worthwhile to actually still emphasize on it so that you should understand the basis of the subsequent strands I would dwell on. I did say that based on my own experience, we had 3 levels of collaboration. You have horizontal collaboration, or 3 types of collaboration, so to say. You have horizontal collaboration, forward vertical collaboration, and backward vertical collaboration. A horizontal collaboration is a collaboration between peers. A forward vertical collaboration is when someone is being mentored, whereas a backward vertical collaboration is when the person is actually mentoring. So I did propose that at the early stage of your scientific career, it should be 50% horizontal, 50% forward vertical. By that, I'm making allusion to the fact that 50% of your co-authors should be those that are at your level, that is your peers, whereas 50% should be those that you are looking up to for mentorship. At the mid stage, I propose that it should be a third in each type of collaboration. That is, a third of your collaborators should be those at your level, the horizontal level. A third of your collaborators should be those that you have begun mentoring. and a third of your collaborators should be those that you look upon for mentorship. And then at the established stage, which is the last stage, I did propose that you should have 50% backward vertical collaboration and 50% horizontal collaboration. By that, I'm making allusion to the fact that at that established stage, when you are becoming a guru, when you are fast becoming a guru, 50% of your collaborators should be at your level, whereas the other 50% should be those that
I think you're muted. Asongu?
Yes. Sorry. I was saying that depending on who you are and what you have achieved so far, you should be able to establish whether you are stingy in terms of collaboration or whether you are open to collaborative prospects. Now, as far as the importance of collaboration is concerned, in summary, it could be articulated in terms of visibility, experience, and prospects. By visibility, I'm making allusion to more research outputs. That is, you have the possibility of publishing more papers, both in terms of quality and quantity. For instance, if you have 4 co-authors, and each of these co-authors engage equally in a collaborative agenda, instead of producing 1 paper, you can end up producing 4 papers. Then, as far as rankings are concerned, we know only too well that the REPEC ideas rankings is also based on the number of published papers. So the more you publish, the more you increase your chances of improving your rankings. Then you had an Elsevier ranking on sustainable development goals that actually appeared in June 2021 and equally in December 2021. Actually, they ranked institutions, funders, and the most prolific authors in all 17 sustainable development goals. It was very surprising that most of those that actually someone's mic is on, please. So I was saying that before the small technical hitch, I was saying that in June 2021 and December 2021, Elsevier actually published some rankings on the 17 sustainable development goals. These rankings were categorized in terms of the most prolific authors, the top funding agencies. Can someone mute the mic, please?
Sorry about that. I think it's better now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. So sorry for the technical hitch. So when they realized that some of us were, I would say, classified or ranked as the best economists in the world in terms of most of these sustainable development goals, there was some lobbying in place by most economists from renowned universities to stop the rankings. Why were some of us ranked among the best? For instance, I was the best in Sustainable Development Goal 1 on poverty alleviation, the best on Sustainable Development Goal on ending poverty, and in some of the other Millennium development goals such as Sustainable Development Goals such as SDG 10, focusing on growth and economic growth. So what happened was that a criterion that was actually used to rank economists was based on how you collaborate with junior colleagues. So here, backward vertical collaboration determined who was ranked as most prolific researcher in terms of sustainable development goals or not. So some of us featured because long enough we had developed this culture of collaborating with junior colleagues in order to improve their insights into what it takes to publish in the top tier scientific outlets. Now, you also have an importance in terms of other forms of intelligence. For instance, emotional and social intelligence. Emotional intelligence all has to do with how you avoid hurting others and your objectives. And when you're dealing with a collaborator whom you have not known, for instance, you avoid, getting to hurt the person. You avoid getting to offend the person by being very politically correct. And as far as social intelligence is concerned, you also have to do with people with various cultures. You have to do with Muslims. You have to do with people from different religious and cultural backgrounds, and you have to understand these cultural backgrounds in order to better collaborate with them. You also have this dimension of political correctness, which should be taken in profound account. For instance, if you aim to join a multilateral development institution, there are certain topics that you should not, so fanatically engage. For instance, you should not fanatically engage a topic such as illicit capital flight. You should not be so vulgar in terms of expressing your resentment against it. And then when it comes to cultures, when you are consulting for the NATO, that is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, when you are consulting for them, there are certain keywords that you should not use. There are certain words like Islamic fundamentalism that you should not use. They may just say religious extremism. That is, they do request not to hurt anyone.
Okay, Asongu, please, you can unmute yourself.
Prof, I think the noise is becoming something else. I don't know who are those making the noise.
You can go ahead now.
Okay, what I was saying was that, for instance, when you're consulting with the NATO, you are requested not to use any terms that may hurt a culture or a particular religious entity. Now, you should also be careful when you are collaborating with people in certain geographical spaces. I have a personal anecdote at the University of Cape Town. I had to resign from that university because I published a paper on slave trade and intelligence. The paper actually concluded that slave traders actually preferred unintelligent slaves to intelligent slaves, because intelligent slaves could easily collaborate and organize revolts. Now, a group of 12 professors sat down and examined the paper. They actually concluded that the results were robust, but that the topic was too sensitive for South Africa. So it is always relevant that you are politically correct in knowing that if a certain society has a history that is quite hurting, you should not engage any topic that actually reopens the wounds. Actually, in South Africa, if you touch on any topic that hurts or that reminds the blacks of their apartheid history, whether the topic is robust or not, whether the empirical analysis is robust or not, they would ask you to resign from any of the universities you are affiliated to. You also have career prospects. Your collaborator can be relevant in providing you with recommendation letters, but here you have to have worked with him for a certain number of months for him to actually establish that based on this specific time, I have known this candidate to be this, that, and that. Can you move on to the next slide, please? Then, as far as the importance of networking is concerned, I would articulate 4 main points here. Jobs, consultancies, tenure track, and temporal university positions, as well as employment in multilateral development institutions. But I'll use specific examples in the next slide to put this in more perspective. Could you move to the next slide, please? Okay. I'll use 3 main examples. There is an African-based multilateral development institution. I am calling no name here, but I simply want to use the institution to articulate why networking is important if you want to join this multilateral development institution. It is one of the biggest multilateral development institutions in Africa. African-focused, African-based, Pan-Africanist multilateral development institution. So the recruitment process is such that there is an informal arrangement that determines who is chosen at the end of the day, and those that choose who is elected at the end of the day are those at the department for which this person is requested. Now, this is the procedure. When you submit your applications. The Human Resource Department is in charge of long listing. When the long listing is done, that long listing, the long listed candidates are actually sent to the department requesting the candidate. What the candidate does is, what the department, so to say, does is, they actually assess these candidates based on the needs of the department, and they do the short listing. They then send 3 names to the Human Resource Department. The Human Resource Department is then in charge of inviting these 3 candidates for interview. So prior to the COVID, you will be called for interview, they'll pay your flight, you go to the place, and then after the interview, 1 person will be selected. There's an informal arrangement that the person who is first on the list is eventually selected. Now, the Human Resource Department knows automatically that the person first on the list will be selected. And the other 2 candidates that actually came for interview just do that for formality and purposes. So at the end of the day, the person who is selected is selected based on networking. I hope nobody is surprised. I will take another example, a world-based multilateral development institution, how the recruitment process goes. There is long listing that is done preliminary, then there's short listing based on other criteria. Now, many candidates are actually short listed. You are sent a letter, you are told that you have been short listed. The shortlisted candidates are sent to various departments, and these various departments have to choose the best candidates contingent on the needs they have over the next few months or weeks. So at the end of the day, they may tailor their needs to be consistent with the background of whichever candidate they want. Recommendations as to which candidate should be selected is actually done by these respective departments. So at the end of the day, who gets selected is based on who chooses who in the department in question. And this is all based on networking. Then there's a recent university experience in Cameroon, where you had over 400 candidates who actually applied for some replacement positions. And at the end of the day, of the less than 40 that were selected, almost all of them were selected based on how networked they were. So we should all be aware of the fact that irrespective of how published you are, if you do not have a solid network, you may end up having a very poor and financially unstable research career. I, for one, I had thought that when I become a top economist, people will be calling for me. But when I became a top economist, nobody called for me. I realized that I had to start building my own network, because that is what actually matters. Networks are also fundamental when it comes to university promotions. For instance, political connections may be worthwhile in French-speaking countries, whereas as far as more Anglo-Saxon-oriented countries are concerned, research network is more fundamental. For instance, it goes with votes. If you want to be appointed as a professor, it goes with votes. The process actually entails a lot of voting at various levels. Now, if you have collaborated substantially, it may help tweak votes in favor of you. For instance, people who may be voting may be people with whom you have collaborated, or people may just be sympathetic to the perspective that, well, this person is not stingy in terms of mentoring junior colleagues, as opposed to someone who exclusively has singularly authored papers. When you exclusively have singularly authored papers, the message you are passing across is, well, even when I get into that university, I will mostly work by myself and I will collaborate less. The next slide, please. So in terms of some collaborative insights, when a mentor is contacted by the mentee, that is the first paragraph of the collaboration, I always advise that you have a talk instead of just exchanging emails. During the talk, you will get to understand the motivations of the mentee, whether the motivations are short-term, medium-term, or long-term. Then the topics that you would engage upon should always be mutually beneficial. That is, it should be a kind of common denominator between the research interests of the mentor and the research interests of the mentee. Then the element of time should also be clearly articulated because, as we know only too well, it takes between 6 months and 6 years for a paper to be published in print upon completion. Then as far as inputs are concerned, there should be some humility on the part of the mentee, and the mentor should always be relevant in the whole process. Let me be more specific. The mentee should understand that at the first stage of the collaborative agenda, he should not expect the mentor to put in 50% of the work. Most often at the first stage, the mentee is expected to do about 90, if not 99% of the work, because at that stage, the collaborator who is already the mentor, so to say, who is already established, will want to assess the mentee in using many criteria. Now, the mentor should also be relevant, because if the mentor is collaborating with the mentee, and at the end of the day, the mentee realizes that he or she has written 4 or 5 papers to which the mentor has not contributed. At one point in time, he would say, of what use is he or she to me? Yeah. So the mentor should always be relevant. The mentee should always understand that without this mentor, I cannot effectively push through this publication process. Patience is also important in terms of rewards. There are some mentees who would expect you to start motivating them financially 2 months or 2 weeks upon the collaborative agenda. That is, you start working, and after 2-3 weeks, he or she starts telling you that, well, my PC is bad, I cannot work because of this or this financial constraint. I think money should not be the sole motivation, but the mentee should also understand that the patient cultivation of profits is fundamental in the agenda. Recommendation letters also, it takes a lot of time for you to actually state in a recommendation letter that I have been working for this person for this spell of time, I have known this person for this spell of time, and this person is good at this. Because if you have known someone just for about a month or 2, the recommendation letter will have less weight compared to if you have been working with the person for, say, 4 or 5 years. So a motivation or expecting a recommendation letter should also be a motivation for the mentee, cultivating this patience in terms of potential rewards. Connections as well. Most mentors will open their connections to their mentees only when they have established some confidence, and it takes time. It takes time, it takes years. So mentees, be patient. Know that there is a first stage of confidence, and then when the mentor has enough confidence in you, he will start opening his networks to you. It is when he starts opening his networks to you that the money starts flowing. Now, at the middle stage of the collaborative agenda, I actually propose that the mentor should start preparing the mentee to be independent, because there are some mentors who would want the mentee to be under them for as long as possible. But the mentor, based on the research productivity of the mentee, based on the experience of the mentee, should start assessing when the mentee will be independent. There should also be an acknowledgement on the part of the mentor that the mentee can be better than him or her. There's some mentors who would just want to be, gurus for life. We have to understand that I could put, I think 5, 6, 7 years ago, I could work for 37 hours. That is 37 hours non-stop. But today, I cannot put in more than 15 hours. But you have young people today who can work for these 37 hours. So I have to understand that I am growing old, and people I mentor will be better than me in the future. The mentor should also do his best to promote the mentee by means of sharing strategic information and providing recommendation letters upon request. Next slide, please. So at the mature phase, the mentor should open his connections to the mentee based on the degree of confidence and whatever. The mentor should also strive to position the mentee, either in universities, multilateral development institutions, and you name them, by means of sharing strategic information and providing recommendation letters upon request. And the mentor at this stage should accept that the mentee can be independent of him or her. The last stage is lifelong collaboration. At this stage, the mentee should acknowledge the historic relevance of the mentor. That is, the mentee should always acknowledge that this is my scientific father. Whether the mentee is now better than the mentor, it is important. Now, the mentor should also acknowledge the contemporary relevance of the mentee. The mentor should always be proud to say, this is my mentee, he or she is now above me. Now, when there is this mutual acknowledgement, now these two can build a network based on mutual respect, a lifelong network based on mutual respect. The next slide, please. So I will conclude with some anecdotes. And the first anecdote is about women who seldom collaborate among themselves. In 2022, I actually made some research in two Cameroonian universities. I exclusively focused on the Faculty of Economics and Management Studies. In the first university, I realized that between 2019 and 2021, no two ladies collaborated together. I moved to the next university, the same faculty, and it was the same scenario. So I kind of told myself, what is happening? Why do women not collaborate? Why do they not become the change they want? Gender inclusion, gender inclusion, gender inclusion, day and night. Yet women are unwilling to collaborate among themselves. So if you are a woman, if you are a lady among participants, and you have been active in research for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and you're not collaborating with women, no, you are part of the problem. If in your university, ladies are not collaborating among themselves, no, you are collectively part of the problem. So how can we address this issue? Do we address this issue by imposing some quotas? Or do we address this issue by shaming those that are unwilling to collaborate among themselves? For instance, if someone is, applying for a job, and the job is linked or related to gender inclusion, you assess the CV of the person, you realize that this person has been doing research, she's a lady, she has been doing research for the past 10 years, and she has never collaborated with any lady. You should tell the person, well, you have to start becoming the change you want if you want to have this job. I cannot see my slide, please. Now, the next anecdote is the relevance of romance. This is a romantic agenda. We have Professor Duflo and the PhD supervisor. I don't know when they fell in love, but I probably know that they should have fallen in love after she picked up her PhD. So there are some guiding, conditions in order to avoid you losing your PhD as time unfolds, or you just being shamed as someone depending on, illegality and immorality to move up the academic ladder. Now, it should be moral and legal. By morality, I'm referring to whether you're married or not. By legality, I'm referring to the age of consent. We know only too well that I think in most African universities, as well as European universities, the age of consent is about 18. So you would have very few PhD candidates that are not at least 18 years old. It should not be a relationship of subordination. By subordination, there are two main aspects here. Whether one person financially depends on the other, or whether another person depends on another person, excuse me for the tautology for evaluation. Now, in terms of financial constraint, if you are funding someone as a PhD supervisor, there is already a relationship of subordination because that person depends on you financially. Now, if you are supervising someone and the person has to move from one academic ladder to another based on your evaluation, then there is also a subordination in terms of evaluation. So there should be no relationship of subordination. So if a professor here, if a professor here wants to go out with a PhD candidate, I think this should be after the PhD, after the student has defended his or her PhD. Now, the relationship should not also be a condition for the collaboration. That is, you should not impose, a professor should not impose on the student going out with him or her before they collaborate from a research perspective. Can you move on to the next slide, please? No prophet is also welcome at home. I'll give you some insight into my own Cameroonian experience, because I am a native from Cameroon. I am a Cameroonian as well. I have not changed my nationality. So in 2021, a student actually invited me to be a PhD course supervisor in one Cameroonian university, the University of N'Djamena, to be more precise. So I sent my CV, and the main supervisor responded saying that she did not know me. I was flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted. And this lady has she had then 2 published papers. So oftentimes you are recognized by other universities that are not universities in your home country. So people should not be frustrated. If you are a Nigerian and you're not welcomed by Nigerian universities, you should not be frustrated. It is just normal. Then my African experience has also been very, unwelcoming as far as multilateral development institutions are concerned. At times you think that when you are tough, you will be invited and people will just no, it doesn't come that way. At times you even get people scared. That is why I tell people, well, if you want to join even these multilateral development institutions, build your network, publish about 20 papers. Don't go out, don't think when you have published 400, they would ask you to come, because oftentimes they want people they can easily mold, people who have not yet been established in terms of the research. So these 2 points, the 2 points I've actually alluded to, boils down to our conception of racism. I have come to not actually calling it racism, but a white privilege, because I have been discriminated more by blacks than by whites. Because in my perspective, as much as whites prefer whites to blacks, blacks prefer whites to blacks. For instance, most of you, if not all, would prefer collaborating with people from Oxford compared to people from Nigeria. So it is just a white supremacy. It is just a collective psychology of white supremacy, which also imposes on us a collective psychology of inferiority complex, which we have to deal with seriously if we want to promote African researchers and African-based institutions. The 4th anecdote: give to Kaiser what belongs to Kaiser. I wanted to say Caesar. So give to Kaiser what belongs to a Kaiser. This is in terms of acknowledging the importance of networking in your scholarly career. I failed to acknowledge this. I thought when I would be tough, people would just invite me. Nobody invited me. Acknowledging the importance of mentors. A good mentor can substantially promote you. A bad mentor can cause you to have mental issues. So also be aware of when to quit a bad mentor. Then you should also acknowledge the importance of political correctness. I have mentioned 2 instances. For instance, if you are hoping to join a multilateral development institution, you should avoid some very sensitive topics that are not consistent with the mission statement of these multilateral development institutions. I also mentioned the importance of emotional and social intelligence. For instance, if you hope to move to a Saudi Arabian university one day, you should not engage any topic that actually hurts the Islamic faith. If you are hoping to settle in South Africa, you should not engage in any research topic that actually reopens the wounds of the apartheid era. So on this note, I will thank you for the very kind attention, and I look forward to your constructive comments as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
You are great, sir.
Thank you very much.
I think the moderator is not. I'll take over. I am open to your questions. Put your questions.
Okay, so I was nobody was hearing me. I'm so sorry.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine.
Okay, so if you have your question, put up your hand. But if you can put it on the chat, we'll read it out quickly. I think I have something on the chat. Moses Adebole, thank you. Once again, okay. Use the chat or use the note, please. Or you want to ask question, raise your hand or unmute you and then ask your question. We have, yes, anybody want to talk? Write it on the chat or on the note, please. Okay, some people are writing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much. Okay. Keep them coming. Okay. They are tapping. Okay, what they are tapping, I think I can just begin to highlight some of my thoughts, and I don't intend to repeat. I must not repeat what they are saying. I've learned personally, and then please make them sharp quickly so we can run. Okay. Why the questions are coming? Okay, please, when the questions come, let me know. I'll just. Okay. Okay, you stop sharing now and then. Okay. 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 We'll take a few more and then we are typing quickly. Can they keep the coming? I think I will just start a part of my own. So as they come, we pause and then in the interest of time. How many people are typing already? Thank you so much. You are typing. Okay. Again, thank you. Okay. Yeah, Victoria, they come read out for prop and then I will pause as we take them. Okay. The tapping is ongoing, and then okay, thanks so much. While we are coming, let me just take some points. I don't intend to repeat. I'm not going to repeat what they have said because they are also very valid points. And one thing about this, our mentorship network is not, we're not giving what you can find anywhere. Is from practical and personal experience. So we are sharing experience of 2 decades from thanks to Asongu, and that makes it very practical. So we can learn from our errors and then see how we can avoid our errors. I think what he said again, as mentors, our goal is that to understand that the time we come, we should expect mentees to be independent and able to be better than us for long-term collaboration and networking. I think that's one thing I learned personally from his own life. Okay, I think this slide was Asongu alluded to read just last week. No, not as a few days ago, we're in Morocco for summer school, organized by Esther Duflo and
the issue of women collaborating with one another is a serious one. Also, networking without knowing.
Go on. Please go on with your. What's the reason? Yeah, go ahead with that. Okay, there's some comments on the chat. I will read it for you. One is from Ogbonna Amarachi. How do we reach out to people for mentorship? Sometimes we may have a clear idea of what we want, but we might not be able to express that clearly. So what tips do you have to help us express what we need clearly to a potential mentor so they can take us on? That's one. And then number 2 from Jonathan Mivin on the issue of white supremacy over blacks in terms of research. What are the likely remedies to address this? Is it the DePECOS or I will call it the diabetes? Okay, that's number 2. The third one, number 3, from Olopade Bosse. The issue of women collaborating with one another is a serious one. Also, networking without knowing one and not attending conferences cannot be overemphasized. How can I network without attending conferences and the likes? Okay, Prof, I'm going to take these 3 questions and then first. Prof, you're muted.
Yes, thank you very much. I was still noting down the third question. The name of the third person, is that Comfort?
Yes, Comfort, yes.
Thank you. So I'll take the questions in the same chronology as presented. The first is from Dr. Amarachi, and it is about how to reach out to mentors. I just think that you should be courageous enough to be motivated to want to do research. If you should, we are all human beings. You see, most of us go to the toilet, and after we are done, it doesn't smell like roses. You see, you shouldn't think that these people, mentors are extraordinary beings. As a matter of fact, when you even meet them, you get to know that these are very simple people. You see. I, for instance, I do not know of any mentee who has written to me and I have not replied. The reply may be positive, it may be negative, but I always make sure that I reply. So just be courageous enough to know that you want to do research. Be courageous enough to know that you are putting your life on the line for research and go for what you want. If you want to collaborate with Professor Asongu, muster the courage to send him an email. I don't think that when you send him an email, he's going to eat you when you click the send. When you click the send
button, yeah,
icon, is it? So excuse me, I have a linguistic deficiency. I do stammer at times. So just be courageous enough to send an email, click the send button, and then request for mentorship. I think you can also do it via, inviting the person, to join your network, your linked network. If the person accepts, then that is already a first stage to the, agenda. Then before you get to talk with the person, know what you want, know your short-term, medium-term, and long-term motivations. Know the objective of the collaboration. Now, the person would always request you to send a half-page, a research proposal. Make sure that in this abstract, the abstract you will be sending to the person, the abstract should be it should entail elements of style that actually motivate a paper. In the abstract, you should be able to summarize what is the problem statement, what has been done in the extant literature to address the problem statement, what are gaps in the engaged literature, how you propose to address those identified gaps, and the relevance of the problem statement to policymakers. You also briefly highlight the data and methodology that will be used for the process. You provide insights as to whether you already have the data in place, and then you propose a timeline for the completion of a paper. It may be 3 months, it may be 6 months, but it should not be more than a year. I hope I have adequately addressed that concern from Dr. Amarachi. Now, concerning Dr. Jonathan's question on white supremacy and possible remedies, this is a long-standing issue. This is a long-standing issue because, since the era of colonialism, African epistemologies were wiped out of the intellectual space. This conception of Eurocentrism is a process of identity formation based on superior and inferior people, and those of superior and inferior people producing any knowledge. We know only too well that scientific production is knowledge production. So there has been a culture where we look up to others for African knowledge. We look up to others for more robust knowledge, when our African brothers are equally producing that same knowledge. I have been based here in Europe for the past 18 years. I have been affiliated with, renowned universities such as universities in Oxford, in Oxford for almost 9 years. But I prefer using affiliations that are in Africa, because I want to provide insights into, the perspective that you can still be based in the dark depths of your village in Cameroon, and you are competitive. You are producing knowledge that is relevant for Africa's development. and at the same time competitive with other renowned economists around the globe. So you can also resolve the issue by allocating a certain percentage of your citations to African scholars and African-focused publication outlets. For instance, if you decide to say cite 100 authors, why not allocate 20% of these citations to African scholars who have actually worked on the topic, or African-focused journals such as the African Development Review, the South African Journal of Economics, and you name it. So those are some of the remedies that could actually help to promote African-based scholarship and actually reduce this collective psychology of inferiority complex that we are all victims of. The third question is from Comfort, who thinks that, I think the premise of her question is not actually factual, because she goes on the premise that, her question is based on the premise that you need to network via conferences in order to collaborate, which I do not think is actually a solid premise. You can actually collaborate without going to conferences. As I explained in my response to Dr. Amarashi, you just need to write to a potential mentor or a potential collaborator in order to set the ball rolling for any collaborative agenda. Then I think the second phase of the question is not actually a question but a comment. She actually alluded to the fact that the issue of women not collaborating among themselves is very rampant. I totally agree with you, Dr. Comfort.
Okay, thank you so much. We have some questions there. What I will do now, I'll just give 10 minutes of my talk to complement what has been done by Asongu, and then we'll open the floor to take other comments. We have a few other comments there, and then I think that will be better. So we'll have a longer time to discuss. So if you allow me now, I'll just share my screen quickly, and then so let's keep our questions coming, please. If you have burning questions, keep them coming on the chat or on the notes, or even our WhatsApp group, because you are not you can't type on this platform. So I'll quickly share the little thought I have now, in addition to what has been said by our wonderful guest speaker. I think I was on this slide just to start from where he stopped about collaboration that shouldn't be subordination. Or I was saying that I was pleased to meet some of our African scholars on this platform, African Scholars Mentorship Network, in the summer school that we attended just last week in Morocco, from Monday to on Friday, about a few days ago, hosted by Saduflo, who is a 2019 Nobel laureate. In addition to her co-author, who is also her husband now, they got married in 2015, and he was her supervisor. So that was from collaboration to another level, and together they got married in 2015, and in 2019 they are prepared together and won the 2019 Nobel Prize in Economics. So collaboration can be long-lasting, and it could be short-term depending on what we are bringing on board on that. So relevance of collaboration cannot be emphasized. Okay, it could be within, again, what he said just now was crucial. It's not only how to do with outside your country, it could be within your organizations or within your location. It could be outside your country, within your country. So I think the issue of also collaboration among ourselves, yeah, I like what he said about the horizontal, the forward linkage and backward linkage. All of that are involved in element of collaboration. Each disagree between the collaboration, networking, and partnership. For this one, I will just make use of collaboration for simplicity's sake. Okay, and there's a paper that was published in Nature that did a wonderful work in terms of comparing single author papers with multiple author papers. And what they concluded is that multiple author papers tend to have more citation per annum than single author paper. In some cases, it could be as much as 8 times. So in other words, multiple author papers can be cited up to 8 times more than single author papers. So collaboration could be very, very helpful and very effective. It could be interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary or cross-disciplinary, depending on what you have in mind. But I will move on to some questions. So instead of personal reflection, I try to have this kind of model, taking collaboration as dependent on, taking citation as one of the research rewards that depends on collaboration. It could be, like I said, it could be within your organization, outside the organization, within your domain, outside that, and other factors. In other words, so the more you collaborate, the more you climb the ladder to have citation, as I said in the previous slide. And then a word that's more cited will definitely lead to relevance of that particular author. When you see a word that's cited profusely, you want to know more about that author, what he's doing, and then that will enhance relevance and the impact. Just to use the word we had last episode 3, which I have that pyramid, that may lead to what called immortality. That will become authority in that particular area of research. So that is how collaboration could be very effective, moving from collaboration to citation, to relevance, to impact, and then on the way to what I call immortality. I won't spend more of that because I mentioned that in the last episode. Then in terms of a personal reflection on collaboration, I think I want to mention that I actually got this part of this slide from, I want to clearly mention that in this African Scholars Mentorship Network, I'm happy to mention that some people are already collaborating, but a subgroup have been formed, and they're already working on some papers, which is very, very much useful, and I must commend them for that. So the point is that the success of a team or collaborative team is a function of the members. So in other words, a team that is very effective is dependent on the effectiveness of the members. So if you're in a team, ask yourself, what are you bringing? I'll mention that in the next slide. What are you bringing on board? Because the strength of the members also affects the effectiveness of the team. Because collaboration or team building helps each people to combine various skills. One may have a skill in analysis, skill in discussion, skill in data gathering, skill in data estimation. All of that, you are putting all of that together towards achieving the goal of the team, which may be difficult to do if you are doing it alone. Like I think Asongu's example, that if you are to write one paper, each of you, so when you collaborate together as 4 persons, you're able to write 4 papers instead of 1. And this African analogy comes to my mind. If you compare, if you take, the bunch of the broom bunch. If you take a bunch, you can. It's difficult to break the bunch of a broom. Okay, but if you pick each of the stick one by one, it is easy to break the stick. So that shows that also reflects the African wisdom that you cannot break a bunch, but if you pick them one by one as a stick, you can easily break that. So which means the synergy of collaboration or networking or partnership cannot be emphasized, because it builds a team to a much winning and collaborative phase that can generate better results than working alone. Okay, and then in the long run, I also like this quote from that team, the sub-team of these African scholars. They found that it's like ordinary people becoming a team, producing extraordinary results. I did that again. When ordinary people come together to form a team or a collaboration, they can produce extraordinary results, just like the broomstick and the bunch of a broom. Each stick can be broken, but the broom bunch difficult to break. Okay, this one I wouldn't say. I think the issue of focus becomes very important, and also you need to value and respect people. Okay, this was an experience I had when I was in Sweden, 2009 to be precise, as a guest PhD scholar. And especially each of us, this is one of my, she was also doing a PhD, nursing terrorist, where I was doing my PhD. And 2018, January 1st or 2017, December, I was announced as a professor. And by our case, by last year, December 2022, I also became a professor. We are still in touch. So in other words, you define the level of collaboration, whether it's a project-based, specific-based, or you want it to be a long-term based. Of course, mutual interest and value for people are very much important in this regard. I won't spend time on this. So collaboration can help us to climb from knowledge consumption to production, and then moderation to simulation, which will help us to climb the ladder to immortality. If you remember what I said earlier on this slide, this one, from collaboration, you can climb to immortality. That is also alluding to that pyramid that I discussed in our last episode. Okay, so these are some personal collaboration. I won't spend time here. By God's grace, in the last episode, I will be bringing some of the partners, the CEO of OBMeet, and also the CEO of Institute for Education Leadership Practitioners, who are collaborating with us with DIaDeRC on this African Scholars Mentorship Network. They'll be giving us some insight on their own experience. On the last episode, episode 5, is on experience sharing, and some of us who are willing to share your experience, let us know. I will mention that to the end of this episode. So we also want to hear your experience and share some of your insights you have learned from episode 1 to episode 4. Okay, so this is for sake of collaboration. I asked myself, which is also relevant to ask ourselves, how frequent do I attend professional outings? It could be conferences. I think Comfort was mentioning it, but those have to be conferences with webinars, seminars, workshop, training can be in your house, like we are doing now. And I want to ask now, this is the episode 4. If you are in this team, African Scholars Mentorship Network, and you have not made at least 5 persons on this platform, brother, sister, you are wrong. Because as at last time I checked, we have over 214 members on this network. You don't need to write a letter, you don't need to write an email. You are out there in the platform. You can just send email. I'm working on this topic. Please, anybody who is interested, please privately chat me. That's what the first team that I want to announce, Joe and others have established. I think about 9 of them already in the team that are working on a topic on agriculture and food security. So again, I want to repeat, if you're on this platform, African Scholar Mentorship Network, you have not reached out to new persons, at least 5 persons since we started, you are wrong. So please, let's look at this. So you can just drop on the group, WhatsApp group. This is what I'm writing. Anybody who is interested, please send me a private chat, and you'll be surprised. So that's how to form networking naturally. Although we have we shared, I think I can share. We shared in episode 3. We shared one of the questions for us to indicate our area of research or interest. First option, a second option, and as of today, we have about 39 responses, and we have this. So this one can help us to give us a guide, but that individual natural interest is very important. So again, I repeat, let's reach out to among ourselves. But we are saying that I think we are all blacks. I think only 1 or 2% are white in this platform. So let's reach out to ourselves and see how we can collaborate. And again, I want to mention on this platform, we have people of very levels. We have professors on this platform. We have deans on this platform. We have directors of institutions on this platform. And so there are people you can reach out to. You'll be surprised how much you can go with that. So let's begin to collaborate among ourselves. That is what we are doing now for this. Then next question I normally ask myself again is that how easy do you meet and make professional friends? Okay. And again, this platform is very crucial for us to optimize. With over 212 members across over almost more than 15 countries, from Cameroon to Benin Republic to Togo to South Africa to Tanzania to Kenya to Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Senegal, everywhere, all of them are here. So if you are not using this opportunity, let's begin to collaborate among ourselves and to be great. Then lastly, if you're in a platform or a group, what is the level of commitment or engagement? Okay, is it that you just sit down in that group and they post anything, you don't comment, you don't react, you're just there? That is not how to collaborate. Is to reach out, because there are some names now that may easily come to your mind. Why? Because they respond, they post on the platform. So the more visible you are, the easier people welcome you to collaborate. Simply let's maximize what you have, just as we have been educated. I won't spend time on this personal experience. I'll just go to some elements of conclusion as I begin to come back to our question. Just to mention that, and just like I said, this one experience comes to mind. When I was doing my postdoc in Germany in 2011, I started an application. I reached out to this one by email. It didn't reply actually, but I think it was a send reminder. But strangely, I met a lady in a conference, I think in Nairobi, they were the same institution, German Development Institute. So why it was delaying, I also reached out to another person in Hamburg, Professor Jan Lai. The one replied. So after Jan Lai replied, he replied. So it becomes like, do I say no to him again or what? And especially for HomePort allows what they call the co-hosting. So I ended up having two hosts instead of one. And from 2012 to now, we are still in touch. But now it's not just a mentor, it's a father. In 2019, he visited us in Nigeria, and it was very interesting. So there's no time I come to Germany. If I spend up to a week, I won't see him. So what I mean, from just a supervisor, a host, to an academic father. Okay, and then interestingly, when I shared the idea of this DIaDeRC, if you go to our DIaDeRC webpage, on our team is part of our advisory board members. Okay, so just from research collaboration into a lifelong hosting. But anytime I go to Germany with my family, he always invite us to the family, just like here. So we are part of families, from just mentorship to lifelong relationship. Because you're almost like that of Duflo and Banerjee, but that's on a different page. Okay. Okay, so in conclusion, I will leave this one. So, okay, this one is another point I want to mention for this JPA project. So basically, to reach out, I think the commission started with two Uniben. I think one of them on our platform, Uniben PhD students. They were to submit a proposal to JPA, and they required to have someone who has some experience in grant writing and execution as a principal investigator. They reached out to me. I said, well, why not? If that's your area, what you work on, why not? So we started working together, and then thankfully we did the proposal development stage, and we got that the first phase. We are now trying to finish the report in May. We are entering the pilot stage, and essentially I did a kind of idea presentation at summer school last week Thursday last week, to be precise, in Morocco, and we got some feedback. Okay, here we're able to present to experts that are into randomized control trial. So basically, is to reach out, and you never can tell how far that can reach. Just like I mentioned earlier in this slide, just from email writing to become a lifelong academic father or academic mentor. Okay, so in conclusion, these are my remarks. I'll take it before we put the floor. One is that you need to define what is relevant or extent of collaboration you want or partnership you want. Is it specific for a given project, a given paper, or general? So okay, let's begin to work together. So you need to define that from the beginning. Then also ask yourself, what do I expect or what do I anticipate from the collaboration? Is very clear. Okay. Then define the intensity or density of the collaboration. Okay, to what degree? Is it just to work on a paper or work on a specific area, or just to work together as a mentor-mentee relationship? Then this is very important. If you're sensible an email, I want to be my mentor, it may be difficult to reply. Is to what are you bringing on board? What are you bringing on board? It may be something you are bringing on board as a collaborator. What are you bringing on board? Is it your new methods, your ideas, your concept? And then there's also need to be flexible and open-minded, because we have different perspectives. So I think I have issue with someone I was working with from the US. He likes to, every paragraph he writes, he must put reference and cite a reference. My own is that I want to finish the paper first and then collate the reference at the end. But at the beginning, it was difficult to maintain. But okay, so let's come to a common ground. Okay, while you keep your own style, I keep my style. At the end of that, each session or chapter, we can now harmonize. So there's need for flexibility and open-mindedness. Then it should be both to reach out, see beyond yourself, and move on. Then that be said, be humble to manage differences. We have differences may occur. Then we want to manage it, so try don't escalate. Even if you need to quit or end that relationship, you should quit or end it amicably, so that when you see yourself tomorrow somewhere else, you can also be bold to see yourself and share ideas. So lastly is to make yourself more discoverable to collaborate. Now there are many platforms. There's LinkedIn, there's academia, there's ResearchGate, there's a Twitter. Ensure that I want to also caution here, if you're on this platform, to Facebook, let what you do be the peak of what you post there. If you are in academia, I want let's see more of academic outing, not birthday cake or that. Except you are a caterer, you can show a birthday cake. But if you're an academia, let what you display on those platform reflect what you do, and that's one way to. So if somebody send me an email, you want to mentor, when I check academia, when I check LinkedIn page, I check Twitter, I'm able to see something you've done before that can add to me. So that is one way to go about it. So once again, I want to thank you for coming as I open the floor again back to Ross for discussion and question. So I will stop sharing and then we continue. Okay, thanks so much. Okay, let's take more questions and then we go on. We have 10 minutes, which is not bad, 11 minutes actually. Okay, somebody's asking, Professor Osabuohien, what are your views on collaboration with private research organization and industry experts? Okay, one, then two. Okay, say Prof, you answer my question. Okay, thank you. Okay, I will answer the last.
Prof, there are questions from the previous presentation.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think I should start with those ones.
Okay.
So this one says, I think it's from Brenda Lynn.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, no, not that one. The one from Brenda Lynn says, I have an issue with women collaboration.
Okay.
Would it be that they have many other responsibilities? We would like to get the results of your research, Prof. I am a product of the said institution you did your research, and we are facing the same challenge. Kindly share your results and recommendation, please. Then there is one from Ofure.
Yes.
It says, for a greenhorn who is yet to publish, where can one begin with in collaboration?
Okay.
Okay. Then the final one, this is Uduak Akpan. Professor Evans, what are your views on collaboration with private research organizations and industry experts?
Okay.
So while I'm expecting more questions, let's address this one.
Okay. So Asongu, please, you are muted, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll take because the question from Dr. Deborah again, I think she put the question and then she later on said the question had been answered by Professor Osabuohien. Yes. So I would leave that. And then I'll take two questions. One from Mr. Ofore. It's Bahen something. Sorry for the poor pronunciation. And then the other one from Brenda Lynn. I'll start with that from Brenda Lynn. And she says she's from one of the universities where I did this small research. And then she thinks that maybe the cause for the non-collaboration may be the too many responsibilities that women have. And she's asking me to share my results. I think these are the three main dimensions of our question. Yeah. So in terms of me sharing my results, it was not actually a research I did. I just went through the faculty research outputs and assessed if ladies had collaborated over the past 3 years, and I found none. So it was just an observational kind of research. Okay. That's an answer to the first dimension of the question. Then could it be that these ladies are not collaborating because they have too many responsibilities? I don't think so. I don't think so. We also have responsibilities. Are you referring to maternal responsibilities or responsibilities that are specific to a woman? If so, then I think that if a woman is to publish 10, or if a man publishes 10 with a man, then a woman should obviously publish 1 with a woman. At least 10%, even if the maternal responsibilities do take a part of our time. As a matter of fact, I was very shocked when I had, we organized a conference within the remit of ASPOWODA. ASPOWODA is the Association for the Promotion of Women in Research and Development, a research center which I co-founded and is based in Cameroon. And there was a conference in 2021 focused on promoting women in research and development. So there were so many ladies that came to this conference. And during this conference, these ladies were very active. They were always shouting, you know, talking about discrimination, that they were not represented. There were two specific ladies from Ngaoundere. Yeah. So I was like so much concerned that, well, I needed to help these ladies in whatever way I could. After this conference, I wrote to these ladies and they never replied. They never replied. So then there's also a cultural issue, because men, you can go to a party and you find two men putting on the same suit. It does not represent an issue for them. If two women go to a party and they're putting on the same dress, instinctively it becomes an issue. So I think that is an issue that is inherent in women, which in my estimation, I thought that when women have evolved in terms of education, when they have reached a certain ladder of education, these issues are no longer, you know, apparent. But it is not actually the case. So as much as we have the intention to promote women in research and development, they should be the example or the change they want first. Because if they're not collaborating among themselves, then at the end of the day, they should not be blaming us for not promoting them. I think I've touched on all the three dimensions of the questions. Now I take on Mr. Or Dr. Ofori's question. It actually pertains to how to publish and how to begin a collaborative agenda. I think I provided a response when I was addressing the question from Dr. Amarashi. Just make sure that you ask questions, read the papers of the mentors and ask questions. That is how you begin interacting. Write, connect via LinkedIn, via ResearchGate, write to them. And then when you are meeting them for the first time, be prepared to engage constructively. Know what you want, know the time frame, you know, during which you want what you want, so that the person should actually know that you are very serious. And just to add to what Professor Osabuohien was saying, also make sure that your social media platforms are professional oriented. If you go about posting pictures or responding to comments that are not really, you know, sound, know that upon consultation, the mentor will not want to engage you in any collaborative agenda. So the floor is to you. The floor is over to you, Professor Osabuohien.
Yes, thank you so much. I have two. One is from Udwa Kakman. What are your views on Udwa Kakman? What are your views?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. Like there was echo. Okay. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much for insightful presentation. The majority of your presentation is just dwelling much on the mentee, which is right in a way. In our African context, sometimes it is the mentor, the behavior of the mentor which have towards you. We carry in Africa days, the low rank, we find it so much difficult. Challenge ahead of us. So some might not give you the free will to give you the free will. I can an example that I had with Prof. Ivan at the University of Cape, professors, and sometimes it's final. They will not even want to listen to you. And when you are talking with a professor and you hold his luggage, but when I start meeting Professor Evans, we all at South Africa. I had to pick his bag. He said, no, we are hold your, we can talk more.
Okay, I think your network is cracking. I think I got the main idea. Basically, it's about mentorship, relationship. I think, like you said, I think in his position by Asongu, that if you are not getting this mentor is not giving the relevance you needed or you need, you can quit quietly. Okay, that's what I can say about that. Let me answer Udwa question, Akman. He said, what are your views on collaboration with research musicians and industry experts? I think for me, it's useful. So we try to promote what I call an industry partnership. So if somebody is in the CBN, for example, Central Bank, for example, or somebody is in the center, even is university, when there's a common interest to achieve, so collaboration can go ahead. So it's welcome. We have institutions. For this, our JPA project to mention, we have one of our researchers at those state Health Insurance Commission. It's a government agency. It's a director of research. He's also research inclined, and we're working with him. So it's good. If it's about mutual interest, when there's a common interest, please you can collaborate with somebody in the private institution or industrial part. It's very important. That's what that also gives the relevance, the research idea to relevance to industry and practice. Somebody asked a question. I think that's for Asongu. I say, please, is it okay to publish in journals owned by international institutions whose membership comprise central banks? Okay. So you want to take that? Is even if these journals are not indexed in any of the none of the reputable databases.
Okay, yeah, I would briefly take the question. Now, I think the underlying intuition or the underlying motivation of the question is to assess if journals that are not hosted by mainstream publication, houses can be reputable publication outlets. I think it is the case because you should assess, a journal's reputation not just based on the publication house in which it is hosted, but also on its impact factor and other criteria such as the schemago, which we alluded to in the previous episode. So if the impact factor of the journal is considerable, substantial, then you should know that it is a promising or top-tier scientific journal, irrespective of whether it is not hosted by a mainstream publication house. If it is classified as a Cure 1 in a schemago, then by schemago, then you should know that it is among the top 25% of journals within that field, within that scope of research. So in summary, yes, you should consider publication outlets that are not hosted by mainstream publication houses, provided they satisfy some mainstream favorable journal ranking criteria.
Okay, thank you. Just to add to that, if it's not a journal, for example, like IMF, World Bank, even the Uniwida, they have a working paper series. So you can publish, for example, that if you have a funded project, we did one with Karakara and one Abdul, they publish in the Uniwida working paper series. So you can also ask them that for permission that apart from the working paper series, you want to publish in another journal. So they can give you the copyright and you can publish that as well. So you have both the working paper series, which will give attention to the paper, and they can also publish in other journal outlets. So it's a win-win, but again, also try to have a spread, so don't have too many of them in one place. So have a spread. So very important. I think our time is almost up. We started 5 minutes past, 2 minutes past. So we have 1 or 2 minutes to wrap up. Before we go, I was saying that on our platform, we will share a link again for us to indicate our area of interest for collaboration. I think I mentioned earlier, and when we did episode 3, we shared one of the questions we shared asked us to indicate our area of interest, and this is so we have education related. I don't know if you can see my screen. We have health related, gender and youth, environment and energy for option 1 of your 2. For us at DIaDeRC, we use this information we have, but only 39 persons have filled that form, which is quite very, very low compared to over 200 we have. But we go on with what you have. So by next week, you will have a name cluster. So you can have for group 1 and group 2, you can make your choice. But much like I mentioned earlier, we want this to be also natural bonding or natural collaboration. So if you have any interest, you want to collaborate, drop it on our WhatsApp group. People can indicate interest. And I said a group is already doing that and already going ahead with their research. So once again, thank you so much for coming. And then we hope to see us again at episode 5, which is 2 weeks from today. Besides 23rd of July 2023 on the last episode 5, which is on collaboration and also experience sharing. And lastly, if you have any thing to share from what you have learned from the last episode, from the episode 1 to date, you want to share specific things, let us know. We can give you audience about maximum of 2 to 3 minutes. Somebody is typing. Jonathan, are you typing? Have any questions for us? Otherwise, you begin to try to tidy up. Okay, somebody say, please, you are going to have the records for episode 4 and 5. Yeah, episode 3 has been shared. Episode 4 will be shared. Okay, episode 3 has been shared on our group. Normally, the recording is shared with the exercise. So if you click on exercise, you see the YouTube link to get episodes. So episode 1, 2, 3 has been shared. Episode 4 today will be shared when we are done within a week. Okay. So, Olokpade, is he tapping? Any burning question I want to conclude now? Victoria, check whether there's any burning question there as we begin to conclude or on the chat.
Okay, it's not really, I don't think it's a question regarding today's presentation, but let me go ahead. Okay. I think the questions are addressed to you, Prof. Relevance. Yes. It says, you said the other time we can reach out to members in the group. Yes. If we can collaborate together. I would like to know if there is a means we can get to know their research area of interest.
Okay. Okay. There are means to know, yes, but one way to do is that let it be from you. For example, I say my name is Osabuohien. I'm currently having a concept note on the why women don't collaborate much in Africa. Please, anybody who is interested should reach out to me. So let people now connect with you. You'll be surprised that within a couple of days, people will reach out to you. So that's one way to go about it. And alternatively, I think that's one smart way to go about it. But if you need persons, you can also ask persons right to us. I'm working on this paper. Please, people in that area, maybe white Africans want to collaborate with whites, so instead of their fellow blacks. I'm doing that research on that, so you can write to us as well. We can look at the database and look at people in that area of research and reach out to them. So these are 2 ways to go about it. I don't know that is clear to you. So one need to be as natural as we can do pairing. You can just go to your based on your form and look at this. Look at this here and do the pairing. That may be. I don't want to be like a holy marriage. It may not work. But when it comes from individuals indicating interest on a given project, people will collaborate. I just mentioned a case that somebody's already leading, and currently I have over 7 persons already there, and they're working together. So that's one way to go about it. And then lastly, we use the interest we have indicated. So if you go to episode 3, indicate your interest. So we use that interest we have indicated to have about 7 thematic areas. We now use that to do the clustering. And for only those have feed the exercise that we can have information to 39% that we can have information to use. And I don't know that has answered your question. Otherwise, we are good to go by 10 minutes past the hour. We log out finally, but I will be available in case there are other personal questions. Once again, let's appreciate our guest presenter, Professor Simplice Asongu, one of my most reputed scholars. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I'll be around till 10 minutes. So the other person can. Olay day is typing. Wait for your typing to come out. Okay. Thanks so much. And I will now stop recording because we are going to reach informal